And there is a massive redevelopment plan for this lot just next to Eglinton Station. It looks like there'll be 5 towers going up to 65 stories. And hey everyone, it is Thursday, May 18th. The time is 1:39 p.m. and the temperature is around 12 degrees Celsius. And this here is Duplex Avenue. And I am in midtown Toronto. This is the Yonge Eglinton neighbourhood. And there's a look into the bus bays at Eglinton Station. And while I was making my way down to where I started recording this, I saw a number of people sneaking in right there, like this guy is doing. Just brazenly evading his fare. You'll see right there, there's a sign that says moving vehicles, no entry, no exit. Oh well, it is what it is. I always tap my way into the station. Anywho, about a year and a half ago, I think November 2021, I did a video titled Construction Hell. It was one that got a fair amount of views. And I walked around this area and I talked about a lot of the changes taking place and the never-ending construction. And I thought for this one, I would revisit that. I'm also going to head into Eglinton Station and we'll check out some recent changes to the subway platform there. So this here is Eglinton Avenue. And here's something positive, some protected bike lanes going in. And over there is a staging area for the Crosstown LRT, which should have been opened years ago. Construction began back in 2011. Although it was sometime towards the end of 2015 or early 2016 when the tunnel boring machines came through here and the street got ripped up, or at least preparations for that. I believe this area is slated to become a park. I've lived here since 2014, meaning in my life, this is the location I've lived for the second longest amount of time. As well as the longest amount of time in my adult life. So I was here for just a year or two when there was relatively little construction in the area. And things just kind of snowballed fast with this never-ending LRT construction. Although when I moved into the area, the Yonge Eglinton Center here on the left was undergoing an extensive renovation. So this corner was all dug up for construction. And straight ahead on the northeast corner where the e-condos are going in, that too was under construction. Although at least this main intersection was clear, which to this day it's still not. There's a look up at the e-condos. And there's a rooftop patio up there at the Yonge Eglinton Center. So who knows when this area will clear up. Most of the major intersections that have been impacted by crosstown construction have completely reopened, at least for the most part. Except for, of course, the most impacted one of all. And for some reason, there's a button here Why would they install that? The crossing signal always shows up at this intersection. Those are usually for ones that prioritize car traffic. Oh, well, let's head in and check out some of the recent changes here at Eglinton Station, preparing for the crosstown being open. And yes, I'm going to pay a transit fare just to walk through the station, as I don't have anywhere to go other than here. But I'm going to try something. I have my transit card on me, but I've heard that you can just tap in with a credit or debit card. So I'm just pulling my credit card out here. I have never tried this before. It's got that touchless system there. So let's see, there's my credit card. Tap card on reader. No. Let's try this one. That was a fail. Good old presto. $3.30. So this video better make more than that to recoup that loss. So just straight ahead to the right are the bus bays. So right now Eglinton only serves line 1, but the crosstown will be connected to here east-west. But what they've done is they've extended this platform to the north to accommodate the crosstown construction. So it used to be you could only go to about this spot, and this is as far north as the train would go. But they've shifted the whole platform down about 30 meters or so. This is some classic TTC on the left. Just a train sitting there, not going anywhere. But this is all new, or it was newly opened. But you'll notice none of the tiling or fixtures have been installed yet. Completely understandable. It doesn't quite match the look and feel of the rest of it just yet. And I think these lights are a little different as well. But yeah, a lot of people have been getting off here and have been confused as to why the staircase isn't here. And the reason for that is the whole platform has shifted. And you can see the tiling used. Apparently these tiles are in short supply, or the material. So it'll be interesting to see if that gets extended over there. The Eglinton writing is also different. Yeah, I was right, those lights are different. Well, at least we have something to show for all the construction. All right, I'll head down to the south end of the platform before heading up and out of the station. And just this last weekend on Saturday, they once again closed the subway for track repairs. And if you live in the area, that's something you're all too familiar with. In fact, there was one stretch about a year and a half ago where it was closed for 9 straight weekends. They were installing an automatic train control system. And I don't know what the excuse is this time. I think they said track repairs. There's a good idea as to how much of the platform shifted north. I think they'll have to leave this area open, as that's where the elevator access is. Yeah, those shuttle buses on weekends can be quite annoying, especially when you consider that one subway train has the capacity of about 22 buses. And we are at Yonge Street. And this sidewalk has been closed off for the longest time. You can't go straight up to Yonge Eglinton. And there's that development notice. So I think they'll be keeping this tower here that houses Canadian Tire. I think Canadian Tire is actually behind that development. There's been a move lately that supermarkets and big retail chains that own land are redeveloping their lots into condos. So this is southbound Yonge Street. I'm just going to walk along Soudan Avenue over to Holly, and then we'll head up to Eglinton. I would say back before I moved here, or right around the time I moved here, Yonge and Eglinton had a nickname, Young and Eligible. And it was one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the city and one of the most well regarded. And one of the reasons for that is pretty much everything you would need is within a 4 to 5 block radius or so by foot from Yonge and Eglinton up there. It's always been an excellent neighborhood for convenience. And it's been intensifying. That's where the art shop used to be. Now there's art shop condos. And there used to be an office tower there that was occupied by TD Malashmonics, an insurance company. And now it's condos. But there's definitely been a densification of the area. Now on a busy weekend, it's just as crowded and busy as downtown. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It's on the subway line. Soon to be a major interchange on the subway line. If you're not going to intensify this kind of area, where else would you do it? And if I could do it all over again and move back here in 2014, I think I would. Even with all the construction, it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. And we're adding a lot of housing stock. But we'll be walking by an area where there's been a lot of intensification and new condo developments pretty soon. There's a look at the project coming to this street corner. And it's not just a generic glass box. It's always good to see. One thing I would definitely criticize is the lack of bike lanes through here. The bike lanes only run up to Davisville. They really should have gone all the way up through Lawrence. I guess the NIMBYs would have had too much of a field day. It's just kind of silly that they stop right before the densest and most lived in area in Midtown. There's a cargo bike, that's good to see. And there's a seat for a little one in front. And I said it has everything you need within a 4 to 5 block radius. Well, there's a new supermarket in here, a Farm Boy. There's also a Loblaws and a Metro. There's multiple liquor stores. There's a great variety of restaurants, including some that are actually affordable. And there's a number of bars and night spots. I don't think as many as there used to be. And here's a little green space. This kind of reminds me of the parks just north of Wellesley Station along Yonge Street. You can see the developments are starting to encroach on these lower density areas. And this is really the kind of silly thing about Toronto zoning. You tend to have low density single family homes or large high rises. There's not much in between going up these days. Although multiplexes and that sort of thing are about to become more common. Let's go up Holly Street here. I'll take this up to Eglinton. And this is a street that if you went to Google Street View even 5 years ago, it looks drastically different now. I imagine it's not long before this office tower ends up coming down. And this thing was supposed to be completed back in 2022, I think. I don't know if that's pandemic related or not, but they seem to have been dragging their heels on it. But this used to be a parking lot that was owned by this rental building here. And we'll see later on in this walk, that's a very common theme across the city, particularly in this neighborhood. Oh, look at that. They've actually kind of adjoined the old rental building with the new condo. What a nightmare it must be to live in one of those units right next to it. And this year alone in the city, there should be around 25,000 new condo units coming online. And between 2024 and 2028, about 100,000. And I think this area probably leads the pack. If not, it's very close to the top. As I mentioned, it's still one of the most desirable areas, at least from a convenience point of view. And I think once the crosstown construction clears up, which might very well be never, it'll become immensely more livable. But the sound and inconvenience caused by construction has been a constant in this neighborhood. The Canadian YouTube channel, Oh the Urbanity, did a video on the impacts of adding all these new condos, and they made a very good point that we need new housing stock today, even if it's expensive, to fill the demand and eventually become tomorrow's affordable housing stock. I don't know what this work is. But This is east on Eglinton Avenue East. And that's all part of the crosstown, essentially an underground streetcar line. It has sort of become Toronto's big dig, that over-budget, never-ending construction project in Boston. Well, this is pretty much our version of it. This is Dunfield Avenue. That guy used to say hi to me in the subway, and this time he just stared at my camera. I kind of smiled and nodded and said hi, and his eyes just darted down. Here's another of the supermarkets in this area, a Loblaws. I do not go there. Comparative to the metro, it is awful. Pretty much the same things with less good sales and higher regular prices. I don't know why anyone would go to that Loblaws other than, I guess, convenience or loyalty.
So Parker's a year younger than me, so she just graduated from the States.
And a lot of these buildings on the north side have redevelopment notices on them. It's only a matter of time before this becomes a high-rise corridor. On the right is one of my most loathed developments in the area. This condo at 123 Eglinton Avenue East. I think there used to be a Swiss Chalet here way back when. I've criticized it before, but I absolutely hate the way it meets the sidewalk. No retail, it's like walking past a black hole. Compare that to what's on the other side of the street. Oh, there's a redevelopment notice for that building there. And once this construction clears up, probably about half of these buses are going to disappear from street level, which will make this a quieter and more pleasant area. They also still need to install bike lanes here, something that they overlooked. They're kind of haphazardly, randomly putting them in places where they can now, when the plan called for Eglinton to be lined with bike lanes all along. And this spot used to be a bar, and before that it was a Golden Griddle. And I don't know if this Harp has opened and closed already, or if it's just not opened yet. And one of the oldest pubs in the city, and one of the best in the area, used to be over there, called the Unicorn. It's been replaced by a Factory Fitness and a generic condo. So this is north on Redpath. I believe in that Condo Hell video, I walked this way. And the east side of Yonge Street, here in Yonge Eglinton, has intensified much more than the west side of Yonge Street, although you'll see at the end of the video, it is coming to the west side as well. Despite the best NIMBY efforts. And to be fair, I'm not opposed to any of this at all, actually. We need more housing, and this is the logical place to intensify. I think as long as infrastructure and resources can keep up with the changes, it's actually cheaper in the long run to service a more densely built area in terms of garbage and waste management and delivering utilities and that sort of thing. Schooling can be an issue, but I think developers can be tasked with building new schools and accommodating the growing demand. This street is Roehampton. And if you go on Google Street View and look this way and turn the time back, eventually most of these towers are going to disappear and there'll just be some older apartment buildings. The same goes for looking this way. Those buildings with the kind of creepy alien art at their base. Here's one. So it looks like the owners of this apartment building want to shoehorn a 46-story building into this lot. As long as people aren't being rent-evicted. Another concern is a lot of these units are going to be Airbnbs or owned by foreign investors who are just going to pay whatever little tax for that they'll be charged. Those are issues a little bit above what I get into on this channel. Here's a nicely scaled development. And for those opposed to high-rises in this area, there's always been high-rises, at least going back 40, 50 years. That's how old a lot of these apartment buildings are. Just a lot of the homes beside them have been taken over. This one is City Lights. And this one going up at Broadway and Redpath on the right there. I think will be a couple of towers at 33 and 21 stories. And that's supposed to be finished next year. And I saw units going there from between 500,000 to $1 million, which seems obscene. But welcome to reality. This condo has all these nice chairs out to relax and bask in the construction sounds. So this is Broadway. Again, another one of those streets that looks quite different. Yeah, when people say construction hell, they're not lying. You do not get peace and quiet in this neighborhood on weekdays. All right, so I'm gonna go left at the next street and we'll head west over to Yonge Street. Then I'm gonna finish up at a building on the west side of Yonge Street that currently has plans to be intensified. Just imagine living in this unit here next to that construction. I really think these residents should be compensated. They can't really use their balconies and get fresh air and enjoy a day out with some peace and quiet, not for several years. I was about to say, I bet developers are clamoring to get their hands on this lot. And sure enough, there's a redevelopment notice in the corner. Let's see if they're going to keep that building and just wedge new condos around it, or if they're going to evict everyone. Yeah, they want to demolish the existing 11-story residential rental building and allow for the construction of a 31-story building, which will include replacement units of the 26 rental dwelling units. So that's a thing. That is good. They are entitled to similar units at a similar rent, and I think they might even get to keep their rent control in place, as the building constructed will be post 2018, so rent controls won't apply. And I think the developer has to cover moving costs and some of the extra additional living costs while those residents are displaced. So if you're willing to tough it out and you live there, aside from the inconvenience, it might be worth it in the long run. I'm actually curious if you know if rent control would still be in place for your replacement unit. Let me know down in the comments. Here's another building to allow the construction of a 22-story residential building. This proposal includes a concurrent rental housing demolition and replacement to the existing 33 residential units. I really think the replacement units ought to be entirely shouldered by the developer. And they should be in the same neighborhood and of similar living conditions. I'm not too well versed on that. But one thing that's happening to a lot of the apartment buildings like this one is because they are subject to rent control. A lot of the building owners are doing what they call lipstick renovations, and that's what happened to this one. They replaced all the balcony units. It seems like there might be some work going on up on the rooftop. And if they invest a certain amount of capital, they'll be able to get an above-board rent increase approved. And it's not always necessary repairs or things like that. A lot of times it's just cosmetic. But I think it's a maximum of like 3% per year over the course of 3 years that they can apply to or apply for. But obviously they do the math and figure in the long run it's worth it. Plus they chase people from their units. And they do that type of renovation. So this one will be demolished too, with 36 replacement units. This one's probably a condo and is unlikely to meet that treatment. And buildings like this one on the left probably have too many people to replace with replacement units, so it's probably safe. Although I see a residential redevelopment notice. I bet they're just going to try to squeeze some condos onto this lot. Oh yeah, they want to add a residential apartment building to this lot. 12 stories, 147 new units, 117 cars, and 162 bike spots. Just let people bring their bikes up to the balcony. You don't need that. Nobody trusts locking their bikes up away from their balcony anyways. They're just going to get stolen. Even if you have security. Oftentimes it's security who tips people off. That is the John Fisher Public School. I really like the entrance on this apartment building. And that's a unique rental building, 15 Erskine Avenue. Yeah, it looks like there's a unit for rent there. If you're curious, you can go to viewit.ca/B34624. There's the produce market. And we've made it to Yonge Street. Which of course is not immune to the development. Just over there is the old Capitol. That's an old theater that I think went up in 1913. And they're incorporating the facade into a redevelopment. So there'll be a condo going in there. And this whole block has met the wrecking ball. There used to be a Future Shop that later became a Best Buy there, and a number of smaller retailers. Another fruit market. But in terms of what this neighborhood has to offer, it is actually quite fantastic. Maybe it's a little lacking in terms of like retail shopping if you want clothes or that sort of thing. There's like a Winners and an Urban Outfitters and some boutique shops, but other than that, it pretty much ticks all the boxes, with the one big caveat that you gotta like shuttle buses and you gotta like construction. La Vecchia is a pretty good Italian restaurant. There's a lab, and my doctor is right in this building. And when I switched family doctors, I actually had a pretty easy time of it. They're willing to take me in almost right away. And the doctor wanted to do a general health check, and that included some blood work. So I went there without an appointment or a designated family doctor. I signed up, I got one, he saw me on the spot. And then 20 minutes later, I was down in that lab doing the blood work. And that there is a dedicated rental building. And right next to it is another condo. That's where Montgomery's Tavern used to be. That's the old Postal Station K. And this rental building is called the Montgomery. So this is west on Montgomery Avenue, on the west side of Yonge. And as you can see, there's a lot less condo high-rises. And I think a big reason for that is just traditionally all the high-rise apartment buildings on the east side of Yonge sort of set the precedent for more condos to grow around them, whereas this side was mostly just housing. So back in the 50s and 60s, for whatever reason, this area was spared from all the apartment buildings, for better or worse. Although somehow in the early 70s, this giant thing got built just in a sea of single-family homes. And of course, here we go. 24 stories planned for this lot. There's a boarded up home. And a lot, so I'm guessing that'll be condofied. We're back to Duplex Avenue. This is where I started. There's some lipstick renovations going on. There used to be one of those big redevelopment notices here. But this is a 70s era condo. Maybe that project is dead, but there was a proposal here that would see a condo go in here on this side of the building, and I think that swimming pool would get knocked out. And then on the other side of the building, a condo would go in. It's got to be noisy dealing with that all day. And I think these people in these townhomes here would be displaced. As there's a tennis court back there, and I think they want to take that out. And wedge a condo here. And you can see a condo starting to encroach over there. That's where that Capitol development is. And yeah, this is where the redevelopment notice used to be. Maybe some NIMBYs took them down. There's a building with an open house sign. But anyways, I think that's long enough. I'm actually gonna walk over and hit the grocery store. I am out of bananas. But I hope you enjoyed this walk through construction hell in Midtown Toronto in the Yonge and Eglinton neighborhood. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support the channel, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing below this video as well. And there's another condo that's somewhat new on this side of Yonge. It's only a matter of time before so much money is thrown at these homeowners before this side of Yonge starts to look like the other. Anywho, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Yoink.